The wrong kind of brilliant. It was supposed to be a routine jump. Clear vectors, stable gait, and minimal gravitational interference. Ewan Trask had plotted it himself, checked the metrics twice. But space had a way of laughing in your face just when you thought you had it all mapped. The meteor storm came from nowhere. Not a slow build, not a blinking warning on the console, just impact. Hull breach warnings screamed, navigation systems went dead, and the emergency override kicked in far too late to save anything but the escape protocols. Ewan didn't eject. He fought the controls, kept the ship angled toward the shadowed cluster of asteroids he vaguely remembered marking as uninhabited, better to crash somewhere than drift forever. When he came to, his nose was bleeding, and smoke was rising from what was left of his flight console. Half the systems were offline. Oxygen was dropping, slowly but definitely. His left wrist was sprained, but nothing felt broken. Outside the viewport, rock, dust, and the pale skeleton of a mining rig embedded in one of the larger asteroids. It looked abandoned. Maybe it was. Maybe he got lucky. He suited up and made the walk across tethered gravel and fractured terrain, gravity weak but enough to hold him grounded. The rig, or whatever it had been, turned out to still have a functioning atmosphere lock. He cycled through the door, stepped inside, and immediately had a wrench pointed at his throat. "You got 5 seconds to explain why you're leaking oxygen in my garage." The voice was female, low, and unimpressed. The alien behind it was taller than him, broad-shouldered with sharp silver eyes and skin the color of pale moss. Her antennae twitched above her head, reacting faster than her voice. "I crashed. Meteor storm. I'm not here to steal anything, I swear." She didn't lower the wrench. "Your ship's still flyable." "Not unless you count falling in slow motion." A beat. Then she pulled the wrench away with a small grunt. "You have tools." "Not much. Some salvage kits, a backup solder array." "Fine. You don't touch anything unless I tell you. Understand?" He nodded. "Absolutely." She turned and walked away, muttering under her breath in a language he didn't recognize. He followed. Her name was Dora. No last name. No designation. She operated out of what used to be a deep mining facility, now retrofitted into a garage lab hybrid full of parts, old tech, and a ship she called In Progress. "You run this place alone?" Ewan asked as she handed him a rusted diagnostic pad. "Didn't know I needed permission." He got the message: less talk, more work. Over the next few hours, they assessed the damage to his ship. The core was salvageable, but barely. The fuel lines were fried, inertial dampeners off by several degrees, and the gravity sink was pulling to port. "I'll need parts," she said, scanning his ship. "Some of mine. Some from your wreck. Take what you need." "I'm just grateful you're helping." "I'm not helping. I'm fixing a mess that's too close to my doorstep." "Still. Thanks." She didn't respond. Just handed him a spanner and pointed to the access hatch. They worked in tandem, crawling through maintenance shafts, recalibrating old systems, and splicing together makeshift solutions out of parts that didn't belong together. Ewan found himself watching her when she wasn't looking. The way she moved, precise, efficient. Not just practiced, but ingrained. Like she'd been doing this longer than she should have needed to. She caught him once, staring. "Something on my face." "Just, trying to learn. Learn faster." But she wasn't angry. Just wary. She didn't trust easily. They shared their first meal in silence. Protein bars and recycled water. She ate like she was rationing every bite, even though her supplies were neatly stacked and labeled. "How long have you been out here?" he asked. "Long enough to forget what silence used to mean." "You get visitors often?" "No, I don't encourage them. And yet, here I am." "Yeah. Like a fungus." He chuckled. "I've been called worse." Her lips twitched. Not quite a smile. But almost. That night, or what passed for night under dim emergency lights and low power cycles, he found a blanket folded beside his bunk. Hers. He glanced toward her sleeping space. She wasn't curled inside it. Just laying beside it, arms crossed, antennae twitching in restless patterns. "Thanks," he said quietly. "Didn't want to hear you shiver. I can sleep on the floor. It's all floor. Just different elevations." He lay down. She turned her back. But when he closed his eyes, he heard her breathing shift, a little closer than before. Over the next cycle, the outpost took on a strange rhythm. Dora didn't like conversation, but she didn't stop him from talking. She just didn't answer most of the time. When she did, it was sharp. To the point. Sometimes funny, but never on purpose. "You're human," she said one day, adjusting a coolant pipe. "Last time I checked. You always talk this much." "Only when someone doesn't stop me." Noted. During an access crawl to fix a stabilizer leak, their legs brushed. She didn't flinch. Later, they sat side by side, grease on both their hands, watching the console finally flash green. "We did it," he said. "I did it. You handed me tools. Semantics. Function." He passed her his flask. She drank. Didn't say anything, but looked at him a moment longer than necessary. "You trust me now? You haven't broken anything important yet." "That's high praise, coming from you." "Absolutely." As the cycles passed, her silence became less of a wall and more of a language. She'd hand him tools before he asked. He started predicting her next move. They stopped bumping into each other in the narrow passages because they learned each other's rhythms. Once, after a long repair session, she sat beside him against the wall. Legs drawn in. Arms folded. "I'm not built for company," she said. "You curl into me every night. That's heat retention. Not affection. You pick the same side of the blanket every time. It's warmer. You talk in your sleep." She stiffened. "You talk too much while awake." He smiled. "Only around you." She stared at him a long moment. Then, almost inaudibly, "We'll see if you still think that when you learn everything." Ewan woke one cycle to the sound of tools clattering. Dora was already up, crouched under the shuttle she refused to finish. "Morning," he offered. "It's not morning. There's no sun here." "Happy new cycle, then." She grunted. "You snore." "So do you." She paused, flicked her eyes toward him, then back to the shuttle. Her antennae twitched. "There's a coolant leak. Grab a patch kit." "You mean, help you?" "I mean, don't stand around eating my food." "So you do want help?" "I want functioning systems." But she let him patch the pipe. He found the panel a cycle later. Tucked behind a warped section of the life support wall. Not quite hidden. Not quite exposed. It blinked once. Faint blue. Incoming transmission. He didn't touch it. Not yet. She didn't speak of it. Not when she passed him another ration. Not when they recalibrated the aft thrusters. Not when he tossed her a clean rag and she caught it one-handed without looking. But he felt it. Something had shifted. A tension growing behind her shoulders. When they sat beside each other that night, sharing silence beneath the hum of the outpost, he asked, "You ever think about leaving this place?" "Every day." "So why stay?" "Because out there, they're looking for me." "Who?" "The ones who made me." Her voice was quiet. But not afraid. "You want to know what DVI stands for?" He nodded. Designation Vector Index. I was DVI 21. Engineer Unit. Born in VAT Sector 4. Trained by 12. Calibrated for performance by 16. And then I asked why. She turned toward him. And they told me that was the wrong kind of brilliance. She pulled away then. Retreated to her bunk. But later, when the power dipped and the warmth faded, her blanket ended up between them again. He didn't move. Neither did she. Somewhere in the dark, a hand brushed his. She didn't pull away. And neither did he. Rust, silence, and shared tools. Ewan didn't ask about DVI 21 again. Not the next morning. Not while they ran power diagnostics. Not even when she wordlessly passed him the toolkit with hands that shook just slightly. He understood something fundamental had changed. The act of sharing the truth, even a sliver of it, had cost her more than she admitted. So he waited. Worked. Stayed. And in the silence between tasks, they began to build something neither of them dared name. The following cycles unfolded in a haze of work and heat and sweat-streaked grease. The outpost groaned beneath the strain of old systems being forced into overdrive. Power conduits flickered, lights dimmed, and Ewan learned the rhythm of life in Dora's world. Her space was curated chaos. A mechanic's haven, every corner stacked with scavenged components, half-assembled constructs, and schematics layered like sediment. Some of it was clearly hers. Some older. Ancient even. Ewan started leaving his own marks. Reordering the solder trays. Reprogramming a cracked assistant bot to deliver tools. Once, he found a rusted comm board and reassembled the transmitter just for fun. She didn't say anything about it until it successfully pinged an echo beacon. Didn't think that thing still had a pulse, she said, her voice neutral. You underestimate human stubbornness. I don't. I've just learned to ignore it. But she kept the transmitter powered on after that. Their closeness grew in the unsaid things. Like how Dora no longer flinched when his hand brushed hers. Or how she stopped sleeping at the edge of the blanket and started drifting closer without explanation. And how Ewan's own shuttle repairs slowed, not from difficulty, but from hesitation. He wasn't in a hurry to leave anymore. One cycle, she handed him a mug of something warm. It tasted like burnt protein and bitter metal, but he drank it anyway. You keep doing that, she said. What? Pretending this is normal. Isn't it? No one stayed this long. He took another sip. Maybe they just didn't like your cooking. She rolled her eyes. But the corners of her mouth twitched. They were splicing a new power node into the stealth ship when it happened. Ewan was balancing on the access frame, routing conduits through an improvised manifold. Dora was beneath him, crouched inside the narrow junction, guiding the wires. Pass me the driver, she said. He leaned down, reached too far, and their shoulders collided. Not hard. Not painful. But something shifted. She froze. His breath caught. For a second, the quiet buzz of the outpost systems faded, leaving only the warmth between them. Dora looked up. Her eyes were silver blue in the glow of the welding arc, her face streaked with carbon dust. One antenna twitched. You okay? He asked. You're heavy. You're tiny. I'm taller than you. But lighter. Not the point. He grinned. You didn't move. Neither did you. A beat. We're getting used to each other, she said, quietly. Yeah. We are. Later that cycle, they sat beside the core stabilizer as it recalibrated. They were quiet. Tired. But not uncomfortable. Ewan leaned back against the wall, arms behind his head. Dora sat with her knees drawn to her chest, resting against his side. When this place goes cold, she murmured, the heat sinks creak like footsteps. Used to scare me. And now. Now I know what real company feels like. His heart thudded harder. Was that a compliment? Don't get used to it. He found the panel again. The one behind the wall. The blue light was fainter this time. Still blinking. Still coded. Incoming transmission. Origin unknown. The same identifier. DVI-21. He didn't access it. But he knew they would have to talk. The next cycle, she was working on the stealth ship's dorsal sensors when he approached. I found the panel again. She froze. I didn't touch it. But it's still active. She set down her tool. Straightened. You should have told me sooner. I didn't want to push. You think I'm fragile. I think you're cautious. For good reason. Silence. Then she turned and walked toward the panel. Come on, she said. He followed. They stood before the glowing screen. What is it? A tracker. Registry nodes embedded in our implants. When someone from the collective tries to ping us, it lights up. So someone's looking. Always. Why haven't you shut it down? Because if I do, I'll never know if they reach out. If any of them still care. She touched the screen. It pulsed. Steady. I was designed to solve equations, build engines, optimize outputs. Not feel. You feel just fine to me. She looked at him. They called me defective because I asked questions. Because I dismantled their perfect models to see if I could make them better. You made a better ship. I made a choice. To think. You made the right one. Then why does it still hurt? He reached out, gently brushed her arm. Because you're not a machine. Don't be so sure. I am. She looked at him like he'd said something dangerous. Then walked away. That night, she didn't sleep in her bunk. She curled beside him without a word. When the lights dimmed, he let his arm slide around her shoulder. She didn't pull away. You still talk too much, she whispered. You still pretend not to listen. She sighed. And slept. As the cycles passed, they grew more in sync. He could finish her sentences. She could anticipate his next tool. They worked in rhythm. Spoke less. Understood more. He stopped measuring time in hours. He started measuring it in meals shared, blankets folded, and the way her eyes softened when she caught him watching her. One evening, they sat across from each other, reviewing a schematic for a new propulsion model. This could work, he said. Theoretically. You say that about everything. Because everything breaks. Including you. Especially me. He leaned forward. What if I promise to help put you back together? Her breath caught. Don't say that. Why not? Because if I believe you, I might not want you to leave. He didn't answer. Instead, he reached across the table. Took her hand. And held it. She didn't let go. The signal that breaks silence. Ewan was finishing a recalibration on the internal power transfer coupler when the sound hit, a soft chime, different from the usual hums and clicks of the outpost. He didn't move at first. Didn't want to believe it was what he thought it was. But the chime repeated. Steady. Pulsing. Urgent. He followed the sound through a dim corridor, past the fused wall panel and into the narrow maintenance alcove where that screen lived, always faint, always ignored. Now it wasn't blinking blue. It was red. Incoming transmission. Coded origin, unknown. Receiver ID, DVI-21. Dora, he called, already moving. She emerged from the engine hold with a spanner in one hand and smudges of black across her cheek. Her antennae twitched as she saw his face. What is it? The panel. It's active. New signal. Not a ping. A full connection attempt. Her eyes darkened. She moved past him with speed he hadn't seen since the last power conduit nearly exploded. The moment she saw the red pulse, her jaw clenched. How long's it been active? A few minutes, tops. Did you interact with it? No, just observed. She tapped the console. Readouts bloomed like flowers of static and light. Her fingers moved fast, pulling diagnostics, scanning protocols. It's not just a trace, she murmured. It's a lock. They found me. They. The registry. Enforcement division. Maybe worse. How? I rerouted all possible signals through dead channels. Scrubbed the core ID from every outbound relay. There must be another node. Something I missed. Can we shut it down? Too late. The signal already bounced. If they got a location. She trailed off. Eyes distant. How fast can they get here? Depends on what they're flying. If they're serious? 6 hours. Maybe less. He looked around the cramped space. Suddenly the outpost felt smaller. Brittle. Then we prep your ship. Now. She didn't argue. Within minutes, the air was full of motion. Sparks flew. Tools clattered. Components shifted. The stealth vessel, unfinished, cobbled together from parts old and new, roared to life under Dora's hands. Yuen focused on propulsion lines. She managed navigation overlays. Together, they sealed coolant leaks, restabilized the port wing, and replaced the aft paneling with a carbon weave shell he'd salvaged 2 cycles ago. This ship isn't ready for long range, she muttered. But it'll fly. It'll run. And it might hide. Better than staying. Not necessarily. She sprinted toward the old mining system interface and began bringing dormant systems online. What are you doing? Making this place a trap. Trap. They expect a fugitive to run. Not one who bites. You want to fight? No, but I want them to bleed if they come for me. Within an hour, the asteroid's old systems buzzed to life. Forgotten defense protocols blinked back into existence. A mining laser, rusted but still potent, hummed on standby. Old servos twitched. Redirectable gravity anchors aligned across the surface like sleeping sentinels. What are we working with? Yuen asked. Rigged gravwell here, a busted but reactivatable charge line there, and if we're lucky, one clean shot from the laser. Lucky, huh? Don't push it. I live to push it. She threw him a small headset. Links to my comm line. Emergency override. Encrypted feed. You sure about this? No, but that doesn't matter anymore. Dora. Don't. Not now. We do this together, or we don't do it at all. Then together. 2 hours later, the proximity alert screamed. She didn't flinch. Inbound vessel. High-speed vector. Matched resonance signature to collective interception models. Translation. They're here. On the external sensors, a black ship peeled into view, sleek, quiet, and vicious. Predator class. Coated in cloaking mesh, flying silent, built for pursuit. They're hailing, she said. Don't answer. I have to. No, you don't. Yes, I do. She keyed the line. DVI-21, came the voice. Sharp. Clinical, you are ordered to comply with reclamation protocol. Surrender and prepare for extraction. She replied, voice flat. Authorization denied. You do not have the right to refuse. Then try and take me. And she cut the signal. They're deploying. Positions, she said. The first shot came quick, a grappling flare meant to tear through the hangar wall. Yuen hit the remote detonator. The charges along the secondary corridor blew inward, shrouding the area in dust and debris. Air pressure buckled. Alarms shrieked. Gravity shifted. Go, Dora shouted. They moved like they'd practiced it, like survival was choreography. From the black ship, 2 figures emerged. Environmental suits. High-range visors. No insignia. No hesitation. Right side, Yuen barked, ducking behind a fusion vent. One figure fired, pulse rifle blazing. Dora vaulted from a ledge, swung down with a hydrospanner, and cracked it against the back of one helmet. The soldier dropped, twitching. The second spun, aimed. Yuen fired from cover. His bolt skimmed the attacker's shoulder. They staggered. Dora took them down with 3 precise strikes. Brutal. Efficient. She panted, blood on her glove. Clear. 4 now. But we need to move. They'll fire the ship's cannon next. Then we launch. Get to the ship. I'll prep the systems. I'm not letting them destroy this place without a parting gift. She triggered the mining laser just before she dove into the stealth ship. It carved a glowing line across the enemy hull, forcing it to veer. Not fatal. Just enough to throw them off. Yuen slammed the hatch closed as she strapped in. Engine power at 70%, he said. It'll have to be enough. She hit ignition. The ship surged forward, silent but swift, just as the interceptor fired. Behind them, the hangar exploded. Metal rained. The outpost crumbled. Dora didn't look back. Cloak engaged, she said. Hull integrity at 84%. They can't track us yet. What about the ones we knocked out? Alive. Let them report we died. It'll buy time. Dora. What? That was insane. Then stop following me. He didn't answer. She looked at him. You stayed. You think I'd let you fight them alone? I told you not to get attached. You did. And then you started snoring next to me. I don't snore. You really do. She smiled. Barely. Idiot. Yep. You're idiot now. She leaned against the console. We're not safe yet. Then we keep running. Or we fight. Either way, we're in it together. Her antennae twitched. Damn it, Ewan. You make me believe things. Then let's survive long enough to make them real. She didn't say yes. She just reached for his hand. And didn't let go. We are the ghosts now. It had been 6 hours since the stealth ship slipped into the deepest crevice of the asteroid belt. Inside, Ewan's leg throbbed from the graze he'd taken during the firefight. The bandages held, but he could feel the burn underneath. Dora sat at the controls, arms crossed, gaze locked onto the long-range scanners. The only light came from the dim blue glow of the console and the pulsing reflection in her eyes. You still seeing them? Ewan asked. They're circling. They don't know if we made it or died. Good. Let them stay unsure. We can't hide here forever. We won't need forever. Just enough time to finish what we started. She looked over. Not skeptical. Thoughtful. You meant it. About staying. Every word. You shouldn't. Not with what's coming. Then let it come. She shook her head. You have no idea what they're willing to do to clean their mistakes. Then maybe we stop being mistakes. Maybe we become a problem. An hour passed in tight silence. The stealth ship's power signature remained minimal. They rationed heat, lighting, oxygen flow. Ewan reviewed the encrypted files Dora had pulled from the interceptor. Her stolen data core flickered with streams of foreign code and names. You said there were others. Dozens. Maybe more. I don't have a full count. Some of the registry tags are corrupted. Some are flagged as terminated. So it's not just about you. It never was. I just didn't want to believe it. What are they doing? Consolidating. Pushing defectors toward the fringe. Easy to round up. Easy to erase. They're cleaning house. Before the next generation asks questions. She zoomed in on a marked coordinate cluster. Here. This region's been flagged with increased surveillance. 2 DVI-class signals in motion. Still active. If the registry hasn't gotten to them yet. Then we find them. Warn them. Build something. She stared at the screen. You want to start a war. I want to stop a quiet genocide. The decision came with gravity. It wasn't just survival now. It was purpose. Over the next 4 cycles, they rebuilt. Not from scratch, but from the bones of what had saved them. Dora tore out the stealth ship's compromised rear thrusters and replaced them with dual-directional rotators from the scavenged outpost. Ewan refitted the power converter with a heatsink manifold that allowed deeper, longer cloak bursts without meltdown. Together, they extended the range of the comm array, welding signal amplifiers into the dorsal fin. It could now send encrypted pulses halfway across the sector. That'll be enough to reach anyone still listening, Dora said, tightening the last bolt. You think they'll answer? They might. If they still believe they're not alone. The ship no longer creaked when it turned. Its engines purred, silent and ready. Ewan stood beside her at the helm, resting one hand on the bulkhead. We need a name. For the ship? Yeah. Ships have names. Tradition. She arched a brow. You pick. He thought for a moment, then smiled. Refuge. Her mouth curved, just barely. I like that. Launch was quiet. No speeches. No celebrations. Just the soft hum of engines and the deep pull of inertia as they left the crevice. Trajectory plotted, she said. First contact signal loaded. Let's go. 3 days into their journey, they reached the fringe coordinates. The system was empty at first. A dying sun. A single gas giant. No calm chatter. Wait, Ewan said, pointing to a slow-moving blip. Something near the third moon. Cloaked. Intermittent pulse. That's not ours. Might be one of the others. She ran the verification algorithm. A weak ping returned. DVI 47. Still alive. Can we hail them? Not directly. They'll panic. Then let's not give them a reason to. Dora tapped a series of soft commands. Her encoded signal deployed, a handshake code only a fellow defector would recognize. Low frequency, directional, with a built-in failsafe. The reply came 12 minutes later. Message received. Routing safe corridor. They want to talk, she said. Then let's meet them. Under the orbit of a shattered moon, the second ship appeared. Small. Older. Patched together like theirs. Audio clicked to life. Your DVI 21. And your DVI 47. You shouldn't be alive. Same to you. Is it true? They're hunting us all. Worse. They're counting on us thinking we're alone. How many do you think there are? Enough to matter. Not enough to wait. By the time they left orbit, Ewan counted 6 new entries into their signal registry. Names. Frequencies. Locations. It's happening, he said, watching Dora across the cockpit. It is. She didn't smile. Not quite. But her hand found his again. And this time, she held on longer. Louder than code, deeper than silence. The jump to the outer fringe was smooth. Refuge glided on quiet engines, its cloak stable, its pulse hidden among the solar static of a dying red dwarf. Dora sat cross-legged on the floor of the main cabin, fragments of her old comm array spread out like sacred relics. Across from her, Ewan rested against a toolkit, cross-referencing the newly decrypted data from the Predator-class ship. They're not just tracking us, he muttered, tapping a coordinate set. They're manipulating movement, herding defectors toward empty systems. Choke points. Makes extermination cleaner. You think that's the endgame? No witnesses. No data leaks. No martyrs. She soldered 2 contacts together, sparks flicking off her wrist. But they didn't count on this. Us. Connections. Unbroken. Over the next 5 cycles, they followed the data. Refuge moved like a ghost, stopping in dead systems and derelict stations, seeking any trace of other defectors. One by one, the names responded to Dora's encrypted signal. First a medical ship, crewed by a former surgical AI reprogrammed with emotion subroutines. Then a converted freighter with 3 X-registry engineers hiding in its vent shafts. Later, a lone pilot operating from the ruins of a shattered lunar base, her left arm replaced with a grafted mining claw. Each had a story. Each had been labeled broken. Each now had a voice. Dora didn't change overnight. She was still sharp, wary, coiled like wire under tension. But she began speaking first. She began sharing the deck. And one quiet night, as Ewan tuned the comm amplifier, she stepped behind him and wrapped her arms around his waist. He froze. You okay? I keep thinking you'll leave. I keep thinking you'll push me away. We're idiots. We are. He turned and kissed her. This time, she didn't pull back. Word spread through signals, not battles. A wave of code moving faster than any ship. Dora modified her ghost pulse and piggybacked it onto scavenger channels, fuel trade beacons, and defunct telemetry strings. Ewan handled the navigation logistics, coordinating safe corridors and relay bursts. By the 20th cycle, they had data chains connecting 32 defectors. We're a net now, she said, watching the pulses blink across her schematic like stars. Not just a net, he replied. A warning. And then came the retaliation. 3 ships vanished on the same day. One of them was DVI 47. The one who first responded. The one who trusted. Dora stared at the blank node on the monitor for hours. Didn't speak. Didn't move. Ewan sat beside her in silence. They're adapting, she said finally. Cracking codes faster. Intercepting signals. We're not ahead anymore. Then we change the game. To what? To something they can't predict. She looked at him. Her eyes fierce. Then we fight. Not just run. Not just hide. Yes. They'll come for us first. You know that. They already did. And failed. This time, they won't make the same mistake. Neither will we. The plan wasn't elegant. It was raw, improvised, stitched together by desperation and brilliance. Refuge became a node, a transmitter of rolling code echoes, each bounce mutating the original signal so drastically that it couldn't be traced. They turned old enemy signals into decoys, sending ghost trails through registry channels that lured hunters into abandoned mines and magnetized dead zones. Then they activated the Deep Line. A forgotten comm relay in an asteroid prison colony, once used to send execution orders. They repurposed it. And when the signal went live, hundreds answered. Not all defectors. Some were sympathizers. Forgotten maintenance bots. Disillusioned pilots. Outposts who no longer wanted to be silent. A collective born not from blueprints, but from betrayal. In the ship's cabin, Dora sat beside Ewan, legs tucked under her, eyes glassy from too many sleepless cycles. You know what scares me most? She asked. What? That I finally care about something enough to lose. He took her hand. Then we make sure you don't. The last transmission came coded in a pulse signature only Dora could read. From a sector flagged as lost. Someone made it out, she said. Another defector? Maybe more. Then that's where we go next. They powered the ship slowly. Not out of fear. But out of knowing. Every choice from this moment mattered. The galaxy hadn't made space for them. So they were making their own. Dora leaned her head on his shoulder as Refuge entered jump alignment. You still don't snore, right? I absolutely do. Ugh. You still pretend not to cuddle. Shut up, human. Say it. Just once. She grumbled. I like cuddling. There it is. And then they jumped. Into war. Into hope. Into a future shaped not by who they were told to be, but by who they chose to become. End.